Hello, I'm Jeff Hagen, and welcome back to another episode of Spinning Wheels. It's a program that talks about everything that has to do with wheels. Today, we're glad to welcome back with us Tom Hawkins. He's the president and CEO of Hawkins Chevrolet in Fairmont, Minnesota, and he's an expert on wheels, car wheels, that is. Welcome, Tom.
Thanks. Glad to be back.
Well, Tom, you know, when we had you here last time, we took a number of calls from people, and we actually had more calls that specifically were asking about finance itself. So today we would like to ask you and address those questions about finance. Can you tell us a little bit about financing when it comes to auto dealers?
Well, Jeff, that's a good question. Auto dealers for many years have been involved in the financing of cars that they sell. And it started many years ago, but there's two different types of finances. A direct loan, where a customer goes to the bank themselves and gets a loan for their car. And then there's something called indirect lending, where a customer can get a loan on their car via the car dealer. Many years ago, there was a lot of interest in car financing, but the banks didn't necessarily have the personnel to handle everybody that wanted to come in for a car loan. So they set up a program with car dealers that they could originate the loans on behalf of the bank, and which means they would take the loan application, they would do the paperwork, and do a lot of the upfront work for the bank, and the bank would service the loan. What that would do is they would offer lower interest rates for us to do that, which we could pass on to the customers and be competitive if they went in for a direct loan to the bank as well. And that helps the customer because that allows them to make their full purchase in one stop. They don't have to come to us, buy the car, then go to their bank and get the paperwork, then come back with the loan check. It allows them to do everything in one stop. So it's an incentive for the bank and an incentive for the dealership. Now, interesting thing about that is when I first got in the business back in the early 80s, we did everything by hand. And when somebody wanted to get a loan on a car, the first thing they had is they'd have these little loan calculators where we could punch all the numbers in. It would print out the interest rate and the interest amount, and then we'd have to feed the paper into the typewriter and hand type everything and hope you didn't make a mistake, and if you did, pull it out and do it again. And in about the mid-80s, we were one of the first dealers our size that got a new dealership computer system. Not only did it automatically automate the bookkeeping process, but they had an option that you could do payment calculations for financing on cars. And not only did it automatically calculate what payments are by just putting the interest rate in the terms and things like that in with the push of a button, it would also print all the paperwork. You can put all the customer information in the computer and put a piece of paper in the printer and then push a button. It would print the whole thing out, so it saved lots and lots of time and lots of headaches. So that's been around a long time, but in the mid-80s is when that started happening. So that made financing cars a lot easier, not only for the dealership, but for customers, made it a smoother process. And that's one of the reasons that car dealers are in a sense in the loan business, but it's an indirect basis. They work with a bank or with GMAC or Ally or even local or regional banks, but a customer gets a loan indirectly through the car dealer, and yet it's actually a benefit and many times a savings for the car customer.
Okay. And I know you have a person who, at Hawkins, I'm sure you have somebody that actually is the specialist on those type of, and financing itself, right?
Funny you should say that. We do. We have, most dealerships do, and we have a specialist in our dealership that does a great job. She works well with customers, and that's Tabitha Bicknase, so she does a real good job. Okay,
well, mentioning Tabitha, why don't we have her join us here on Spinning Wheels via satellite?
Well, that's good. She can answer some questions that we have about financing today.
Sounds good. Tabitha, welcome to Spinning Wheels.
Thank you. It's good to be here today. I've always been a big fan of spinning wheels.
So Tabitha, can you tell us a little bit about what you actually do at Hawkins?
Well, I've been here at Hawkins since October of '04. I'm in the finance department. I do the paperwork. I find loans for people.
Tabitha, Tom and I have been talking about vehicle financing and what it takes to actually do the financing for the customers themselves. And we have some callers on the line that would like to ask you about finance, and we would like your input on that.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Okay, caller, are you there?
Yes, my question is, why are interest rates different with different vehicles?
That is a good question. Tabitha, you want to take that one?
There's a lot of factors that go into determining interest rates. For one, the age of the vehicle. A brand new vehicle, you're probably going to see a lot lower interest rates versus an old vehicle where the interest rate's going to be higher. Terms will be different, so a lot of it is based on the year of vehicle.
All right, thanks, Tabitha, and also thank you, caller, for that great question. And we do have more people on the line, so what do we take another call? Caller?
What is a credit score? A bank told me that I had to have a good credit score in order to get a loan.
And very important and a good question, for especially nowadays. And Tabitha, why don't you answer that one?
Your credit score is the bank's way of measuring whether you're going to pay back your loan or not. There's many factors that go into determining your credit score. There's 3 different credit score places. One is TransUnion, one is Equifax, and one is Experian. We at Hawkins use Equifax, but it just shows your history, and it gives the bank a good idea of whether to borrow you the money, whether they're going to get their money back.
All right, well, thank you, caller, for that great question.
Yeah, Tabitha, she handled that one well. That's a difficult question that people have, but she did a good job of explaining that.
Well, we do have time for one more quick question. So, caller, are you there?
Yeah, what things do the bank look for when determining whether or not to give you a loan?
Boy, that is tough deciding on that one. Tabitha, you want to take a crack at this one too?
A lot of what the bank looks at is just your past history of loan payments. You know, if you've had another vehicle loan, how you've paid that, if you've paid it on time, or if you've been, consistently late on the vehicle. A lot of times they look at your debt to income ratio, whether you can afford to take on another payment or not. They might look at your income to make sure, adding that other payment won't put you in the hole. So a lot of factors go into determining whether they'll give you that loan or not.
All right, thank you, caller. That was another great question.
Yeah, that was a good question. Tabitha does a great job, and we're really lucky to have her on the Hawkins team, and she's a hard worker. And so if you've got questions on anything to do with financing, just get on her website and check out her emails, drop her an email, or give her a call. She's very helpful and will be glad to help with any questions about financing.
Thanks, Tom, and we'll see you back at the dealership.
Thanks again, Tabitha.
Yeah, thank you, Tabitha, for joining us today. Well, Tom, there is someone else that we'd like to share their thoughts with us here at the Spinning Wheels program.
Let me guess, the old car guy?
You got it, Tom, and it is the old car guy. Old car guy, are you there to join us?
Hey folks, Rusty here out on the back lot. Last time I told you a little bit about all that pent-up demand after World War II. So the car manufacturers, they made lots of new cars, but I'm going to skip ahead about 10 years, and we're going to talk about, I think, the best time in United States history. It was that mid-50s. Everybody was having babies, the families were getting bigger, and there was this whole new group of people in the United States called the middle class. And the car manufacturers, they had to make cars, especially for these families that wanted nicer things because they were making more money, they were buying houses, they were doing all this stuff. And arguably, Chevrolet probably did the best job of this. And everybody thinks of them today, those classic, that 55, 56, 57, even 58, 59 Chevys. They were great. America just loved them. But the guy that hated them was the guy that worked at the service station. Now, for some of you younger folks, you don't understand what a service station actually is. You used to be able to go pull in there to get gas, and not only did they pump it for you, but they'd wash your windows, they'd take a little whisk broom and dust out your floor mats, they'd check your oil, check your water, top it off, all with a smile, and send you on your way for usually 19 or 20 cents a gallon. But in these Chevrolet cars, it drove the guy nuts because I'm going to show you a little picture up here. 1955, here's 1955 Chevy Bel Air, and you see right here on the back fender, you just lift open the door, there's a gas cap, you put it in. So then out comes the 1956, and you look on the fender and go, there's not a door there. But there was a little secret compartment back by the taillight. There's a little piece of chrome. You turned like this, the taillight opened up, then the gas tank was in there. So then now everybody recognizes the 1957 Chevy with that big fin on there. If you look right here, half that fin pulls open like this, and then there's your gas trap door. 1958, if you look for it on the fin, it's not there. You got to go back behind the bumper, and there's a little trap door there in the panel. Finally, in 1959, you look at this car here, you don't see anything, but if you flip down the license plate, there was your gas cap there. And they kind of stuck with that deal for about the next 20 years pretty much. Most everybody put their stuff back there. But anyway, just a little trip back in history. About break time, the donuts should be done. I'll talk to you next time. This is Rusty, the old car guy, back on the back lot. We'll see ya.
All right, well, thank you, old car guy. You sure do know your cars.
Well, he should. He's been around a long time.
That's for sure. Well, Tom, I'm afraid speaking of time, we have run out of time here on the program, but we would like to thank you once again for joining us today, telling us a little bit about finance and our viewers that are watching about it. So again, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you, and I'm Jeff Hagen, and we'll see you again next time with another edition of Spinning Wheels.